Hey guys, this is Aniket Kulkarni. I'm going to bring you some cool and interesting stuff in Swift language. Those are going to be the basics of Swift in the first tutorial, and the way we move ahead, the complexity is going to increase. So let's get started with the features of Swift. So guys, Swift is very concise and easy to understand language. That's what makes it, very popular, and it has already started to gain a lot of popularity among new developers as well. Swift eliminates two file requirement. So what that means is earlier in Objective-C there were .h and .m files. .h files would have the declaration and .m files would have the connection or the implementation of those declared variables and methods. But Swift combines these two classes or these two files rather into one file, which is .swift file. Next is Swift is very fast. The execution speed of Swift is much more faster than Objective-C, which itself is faster than Python, which is considered to be among the fastest available languages today. Swift is designed for ensuring runtime safety, which makes the code simpler. Swift uses a lot of type safety in terms of using some tuple values or in terms of using structures. It achieves a lot of type safety. So once you achieve type safety, the code becomes less bug prone, and the development also gets faster because the lesser bugs that they are, the lesser testing efforts are required, and thus your development speeds up. Next is Swift compiles into dynamic frameworks only. Swift doesn't compile into static libraries like Objective-C. That makes Swift a lot more flexible because frameworks are just like skeleton. Those are not predefined statements like static libraries. Hence Swift is a lot more flexible in terms of the way it has been formulated. Swift introduces types like generics, tuples, optionals, which makes things a lot clearer and it makes the programmer's life a lot easy. There is built-in ARC support for almost all Swift frameworks. In Objective-C earlier on, there used to be certain frameworks like Core Graphics which didn't have ARC support, so developers had to manually manage the memory, which might at times get difficult and lead to runtime errors. But Swift has eliminated those things. These are just just a gist of the features that Swift provides. I have jotted down for you these things, but there are lot of features of Swift which gives us an upper edge over Objective-C. Now let's quickly get to some of the basic implementations of Swift which would be required in iOS app development. So guys, let's get started. So how do we declare variables in Swift? So guys, before starting, this is playground. Hope you are aware about playground. Playground is a place where you can simply write certain piece of code which doesn't require some pictorial representation on simulator. You can simply run a few statements and get the output in the console at the bottom of the screen. So how do we declare variables in Swift? Variables in Swift are declared with var types. You can see on the screen the variable str is of type var. When we say var str equal to hello playground, str is going to print hey there. So why does this happen? Because str is a variable and it can be changed with some other value. Here in this case I have changed this value to hey there. I think this is pretty simple stuff. So let's go ahead to the next point, that is constant declaration. In constant declaration, Swift allows us to do that with the help of keyword let. When you say let first name, it is say Aniket, and let last name, and we can print it out using display. The key thing here is when you combine two strings in Swift, things are a lot more easier than what you do in Objective-C. You can see we are going to concatenate these strings using this plus character and a space between. So it prints out what is happening here. Oh, I'm so sorry, I've kept this. Don't know why I goofed up with this forward slash which was there. Alright, let's go to the next point, which is tuples. So guys, in this tutorial I'm going to just show you things which are different than what we do in Objective-C. So there are no tuples for your kind information in Objective-C. Tuples are a variable which points to a group of data. Now this group of data can be string type, it can be integer type, or it can be float or any available value types. In this case we have taken it as string types. When you say let options, it implicitly converts this into string type in form of options. When you say options and allocate options to a tuple, now this is also a tuple object. Now the value of option 1 corresponds to bus, while value of option 2 corresponds to metro. Let's see what is going to print. Oh, it has printed bus. So option 1 rightly corresponds to bus. There is one more way of implementing this. We can say option 1 options.1, which is going to print metro. Let's go to the next point, guys. There is a lot of buzz around optionals or the introduction of optionals in Swift. So basically optionals are value types. Those could be int, those could be float, or just like strings and any other value types. By default, integers, floats, or decimal types, these are not allowed to be nil. You initialize those in Objective-C, those are, or don't initialize with any value, the default value is going to be 0. But in Swift, the default value can also be nil. Hence, it has put a norm or a type which are called as optionals. And how do we identify those? We identify those using question mark symbol. When we say x is of type int and question mark, it means that x could be nil. If you say x colon int, it is going to throw you a compile time error. Let's try doing that. See, it has given me a compile type error saying variable x used before being initialized. So to accurately use this, we need to give a question mark symbol here. And now let's see what it prints. It rightly prints nil. because we haven't given it any value or any numeric value like 1, 2, 3, 10 or anything. So it has got a default value. So this is the type checking in Swift, which makes the code safe and less prone to bugs. Guys, so the next point is, how do we unwrap these optionals? These optionals values need not be in a position where they are going to be nil. There could be a scenario where you already know that these values are never going to be nil, and you tell the compiler that this value is not going to be nil. Don't check for nil for this value, just use this value wherever I have put the statements to use this value. So how do we instruct the compiler? We instruct the compiler using exclamatory mark. So this exclamatory mark here says that whatever is the value, just print it. I just want to print this value because I know that this value is not going to be nil. There is one more mechanism where we can implicitly unwrap the variable. What does that mean? And that means that the value y here, the variable y here, is going to hold the value of x, and we know that x is not nil. X has a certain value, so that value is taken up in y and we print y. No need to give an exclamatory mark here for y. It is going to give you an error because y is already pointing to x, which has been declared as not going to have any nil value. Next point, guys, is optional binding. Swift gives a certain mechanism to test whether our optionals have value or not, or to check whether our optionals are nil or not. So how do we do that? We do that with if in a combination with let keyword. If can be used with let in this fashion. If let y equal to x, this means that if x has a value, x is not nil, take the value of x in y and straight away print it down. So that's what we do here. So guys, this was just a basic tutorial on Swift. As we go along, we are going to go with more complex tutorials on Swift, concepts which require more attention, and complex which is going to be content which is going to be a lot more interesting. Stay tuned, and please don't forget to like and subscribe